Hey guys, welcome back to Clownfish TV. This is Kneon. I am here with Geeky Sparkles.
Hello.
And Spider-Man and His Amazing Friends is racist.
Of course it is, because what isn't?
It's racist. It's so racist that Disney had to put a trigger warning at the beginning of the Sunfire episode.
Right, we're talking like the old Spider-Man and His Amazing Friends show.
Almost 40 years old.
Right. I remember watching this when I was a kid.
I love this show.
I used to watch it too. And, you know, it now has been given a trigger warning like Dumbo and some other ones.
Peter Pan.
Yes. And they don't say what it's for, but the general consensus is because of the characterization of the one character in the show.
Yeah, which we're going to talk about that and the Disney's overabundance of trigger warnings lately on their content. And we're going to talk about what the problem might be. Now, actually, one of the episodes, with Red Skull, they banned it completely. It's not even on Disney Plus.
Yeah, I was hearing that, yeah.
I wondered that because when I was a kid, I remember it had, Yahtzee stuff in it. I'm like, oh, they're never going to...
Well, are they going to put trigger warnings up? Are they going to ban Indiana Jones?
That's a good question.
Because that's the whole premise of the Indiana Jones movies.
I don't know. Well, maybe because it's adultish entertainment. I don't know.
I'm just saying.
Everything's problematic. Everything is problematic. So before we get into it, please subscribe for more pop culture news, views, and rants, guys. We're over 150,000 subs. Thank you for the support. So yeah, this has been making the rounds because comicbook.com had kind of a shit fit about it the other day. Well, maybe not quite a shit fit.
Okay. Well, to me, it was my first thing I said to you. Well, first of all, let's read the warning, and then I'll say the first thing I said to you, and we went and looked into it. But the trigger warning says...
It says, this program includes negative depictions and or mistreatment of people and cultures. These stereotypes are wrong then and are wrong now. Rather than remove the content, we want to acknowledge its harmful impact, learn from it, and spark conversation. They don't even give you time to read it.
Okay, spark conversation. But they removed the episode with Red Skull.
Yeah, right. We can't talk about those guys. Okay. Those guys were really bad.
Here's the rest of it. To spark conversation to create a more inclusive future together, Disney is committed to creating stories with inspirational and aspirational themes that reflect the rich diversity of the human experience around the globe. This sounds like it's the write-up for what they were going to do to Spaceship Earth.
Yeah, we've talked about that before. They're going to...
our shared story was what they were going to call it.
Our shared story.
And this sounds like the write-up they have for Dan Spaceship Earth. So they were going to flip in... do this to Spaceship Earth, and thank God they ran out of money. But when you tell me about the content warning and what people were mad about, and what they think it's about is the Asian character in the show.
Yeah, well, it's Sunfire and his uncle, and what's interesting is
I think the uncle was the problematic one.
Yeah, because he had a very kind of stereotypical Asian accent. There we go. Very stereotypical Asian accent, but curious thing about
the first thing I said to you was, is the voice actor Asian? And guess what?
He is.
He's Chinese.
He is.
So they're pissed about the characterization of a character because it's a stereotypical Asian accent. As it turns out, the actor who played him is flipping Chinese.
It's Keye Luke, who he said, he was actually appeared in almost every film. Every film that called for Chinese characters, he was in this one.
So he was Chinese. So when they're mad about this racially insensitive depiction of an Asian character, it was voiced by somebody who was Asian.
Imagine that.
I know. I was like, that's my first question. The first thing I asked you and you told me, I said, but is the voice actor Asian?
Yes.
And he is. So
now,
I was like, well, then why are they mad?
Now, Sunfire is portrayed by a white guy, but he doesn't do the, the over-the-top accent.
He sounded more like it was like he was Asian descent, but he was, he was raised in America. So he had a little bit of an accent, but it wasn't to the level of his uncle, which is done by a Chinese man. So if you're mad about his accent, take it up with nature because he's Chinese.
Yeah. So that was very interesting. That's the only thing we can think about because even even on comicbook.com, they don't know. They said that they don't know what the problem actually is, just probably the potentially racist caricatures of the Chinese man done by a Chinese man.
Because how dare he? How
dare he? And the Red Skull episode, of course, because, Yahtzees.
But I want to point out, well, actually, you're the one that found it. This episode, though, when we're going on the theme of, marginalized people, was written by a woman.
Yes, it was. Christy Marks, who those of you who follow classic 80s animation will know her name.
Because it's excitement and adventure.
It is. She's the creator of Gem.
Yes.
The showrunner of, I believe the showrunner of Gem. I know she wrote the show Bible.
Yes.
And she was very, very salty when they made the Gem movie and did not ask her for any input.
Well, they might have had a hell of a lot better movie had they asked her for input. Do we see a pattern here? They keep wanting to bring this stuff back, but they never ask the people that are around that made it popular, to give them some input. Because they hate the original and want to change it, and they know that they won't let them do that, so they don't ask them at all, and then they come up with a subpar product. I mean, I'm seeing a pattern here.
Yeah, there is definitely a pattern of they want the brand recognition, they want the name, but they don't want the hassle of having to reach out to people who might actually
made it what it was,
who actually know what they're doing. Right.
So if it is about the characterization of the Asian voice actor because it was very stereotypical Asian accent, it's because he's Asian.
Yeah.
I'm just putting that out there. I mean, it could be other reasons, but it sounds like that's what they're mad about. And if that's the case, my first thought was, is he Asian? And he is!
Look at that. So they actually were... Look, Disney should be all about that. They should be all about that because they're like, you can't voice characters outside of your race.
But he didn't. And then you have a woman wrote the episode.
Yeah.
So, I mean, you should be leading with this.
40 years ago. Look how... How diverse and inclusive Marvel was.
Hollywood just invented diversity 5 years ago. We all know this. It's only been invented 5 years ago.
Yeah, right. Plus, the whole episode has Iceman, who's gay now. So there you go.
There you go. That too. He wasn't then, but he is now for no reason.
He's pretty much.
But okay, so then what's interesting about Sunfire, though, and Disney has a history here because there was a rumor.
So there was a rumor that Tadashi, Hiro's brother, was actually going to be Sunfire if they ever did a sequel to Big Hero 6. An actual sequel, not the series, which totally makes sense. Now, this would be a different character than the Shiro who plays, or who is Sunfire in the X-Men comics. But people have wondered if he isn't going to come back. He supposedly, died in a fire.
Right.
Maybe he would come back as Sunfire later on.
They thought so because of his hat of all things.
the logo, it's, obviously it's for the city, the San Francisco city, but it also it is the same font that they've used before for Sunfire. It does have the SF on it. He did die in a fire. So people thought that maybe he would come back as Sunfire. And, you have to remember too, Sunfire was the leader of Big Hero 6 in the comics. Now, they've changed a lot of things in the comics, but he was the leader of Big Hero 6.
It totally made sense. And since everybody was upset that he died, and a lot of people love Big Hero 6, Disney keeps wanting to go and just make live-action versions of all their animated stuff. If they made a Big Hero 6 sequel, people would be about it. But they don't want to do that. They instead want to repurpose everything that no one gives a shit about instead of doing something that people would love to see. If they did a Big Hero 6 sequel and did bring Tadashi back, people would be thrilled. But let's not do that because that'll make money. Can't have that, can we?
I love this. They're like the comments. Those warnings are one of the reasons I don't have Disney Plus. Geez, people, it's just a cartoon. Lighten up. Without any explanation as to what was deemed offensive, this is a rather pointless non-news article. That's the point. They don't know why.
Yeah, but I honestly think that's what it is because that they had characters and we've seen it before in other shows. Because of the way that other races were depicted, it could be trigger warning, possibly problematic. But in this case, it's done by an Asian person, so it's like
I don't know.
Quick, hurry up and trigger warning the Asian character done by an Asian person.
That was like, I've seen these people on Twitter, like they're trying so hard not to offend that they actually wind up being offensive. I've seen people before, they're like, don't make this character look Asian. And what happens is they change the character so much that the character doesn't look Asian at all. They're like, this isn't how you draw Asian people, but then they draw the character so they look like they're Native American or something instead. That's like, it doesn't even.
Then they get mad about that too.
Yeah,
which just goes so that you cannot please Twitter no matter what you do. But I mean, we don't know what the issue is.
This is the issue.
But
I'm telling you what the issue is.
People think the issue is the character and the characterization of Asian people. But they hired an Asian man to do it. So it's like.
But they're not going to have a problem with the closeted gay man who throws snowballs.
Yeah, well, he wasn't gay then. He only was gay when they decided they needed to be more inclusive when they invented it 5 years ago.
That's his face. That's the face he made when he found out. When he was told he was gay. By Jean Grey, who actually can control people's minds, by the way.
Yes, and make you change enlighten you to who you really are, because, he didn't know all this time.
Right.
Whatever. But it's just like, this whole thing is dumb. This whole argument, this whole trigger warning is just stupid and pointless. And it's kind of insulting if it is because of that. Because it was done by a person who actually was Asian.
Yes, he was. So there we go. Now you know. Knowing's half the battle. Yo, Joe.
That's right.
Christy Marks, I think, wrote some episodes of that, too.
Probably. Because, but women were not included in the 80s in TV shows. They weren't showrunners. And if they did, they only got to work on shows for girls.
There you go. All right, we're going to wrap it up.
That's right.
Okay, so please subscribe for more pop culture news, views, and rants. We'll talk to you guys later.
Bye.